if you are stuck in a loop of your life where you find yourself doing the same things and you want to break through so bad in your life, but there's a way you have to follow the process to do it, but you try and do something and it doesn't work because of certain things in your life, because of the certain way you think, because of the certain way you react, and the change you're trying to bring in doesn't happen. The fact is that we live about 95% of our lives the same loop that we did the day before. If you think of it as a routine pattern, you think that what did change? You had the coffee the same way you like. You had the same emotions when you woke up, and you went to work thinking about the same coworker that you didn't like, thinking about the emotions that you have on the way to the work, thinking even about that same person and thinking about how you're going to react, how that person makes you feel, and just doing that all over again and again in your life, and you're wondering why your life is not changing because you're not even interrupting the loop pattern that you're in. So let me share the fact that our brain and bodies are designed in a way that you like the familiar instead of the unknown. And that is just how we are designed, and that's how we are. We love the fact that a familiar known is, even if it's like you become addicted to even stress. If you have a pattern of like stressing about something, no matter if that thing is resolved, you still stress about it. So for example, my personal example that I remember still for some reason till date is in high school. When I was giving my exams, I was so stressed out about the exams. I was preparing for the whole few months before the exam, and I was so stressed that I really wanted to do well. And in the end, when the exams were over, everything was over, I remember we didn't have the result at that point. I was sitting, I went for a haircut, so I sat into the chair. My usual way of getting a haircut is I just sit and relax. But that time I remember I sat down and I was like, I closed my eyes and I'm like, I need to stress about something. And I remember that so vividly till date because I was like, there's nothing to stress. The exams are over. Now it's just the result that we're waiting on. So there's nothing to stress about. And that was just an automatic thought and just an automatic way of my thinking because I had been thinking in a certain way for so long. And it was just automatic. I had nothing to think about, and I was like, I need to stress about something. I literally thought that I need to stress why I'm so chill out in this chair. So that's how it works. So the fact is that if you have a certain way of thinking, like if you have a thought about something, you're going to have a similar emotion to equal to that thought, and then you're going to have a similar behavior equal to that emotion, and then it just continues the same way, and you're going to make sure your life continues in the same way and it's not going to change. So for example, if you have a thought of I'm not good enough because of a certain pattern in your life, because people told you that when you were young, or somebody told you and you just hold on to it, then your thought pattern is still I'm not good enough. And then your emotions too is going to reaffirm that thought, which is I am not good enough. So you're going to think anxiously about your futures. You're going to have low emotions, sadness, or like similar emotions to that thought, and you're going to be anxious about your future. You're going to sabotage things, and you're just not going to be emotionally well. And after that, your behavior is going to still represent the same thoughts and emotions you're thinking. So your behavior is going to be I'm I don't trust people enough, and I am going to not take that opportunity that comes in. You're just going to run away from the opportunity because the familiar is so known to you that you're going to not trust the unknown opportunity. You'll rather cling on to the unknown known stress, anxiousness, anxiety about all the things, rather than taking the leap of faith and trusting that this opportunity is for me. And you're going to just sabotage the opportunity. In short, your behavior is going to just represent that. So once your behavior represents what you have been thinking and having the emotions about, then you're going to repeat the same pattern, and your brain is going to reaffirm, see, I already told you nothing's going to change. Why did you even try? So the same patterns of things repeat over and over again. And if you're really committed, if you watched the video till now, you know you're committed to the process and you really want to break through. Let me give you some practical ways you could do that. And if you're committed to the practice, you will be able to break through the loop no matter what. So I think the first step is awareness, because until unless you're aware of the loop, you don't even realize there's something to change. So for example, as I said, the thought of I'm not good enough, then your thought, you have that thought and your awareness about that thought, that I shouldn't be thinking this way and this is not the right way of thinking. That awareness comes in and you're able to actually observe yourself. And so that awareness is the first step. Until you are aware, you're not going to change anything. So yeah, if you are aware of something, then yeah, you're good enough. You know that the first step, you've already taken that first step of awareness. So after awareness comes in the breaking of that loop. So that you have to interrupt the loop in a way that is going to be acceptable. So the loop interruption could be of, if you think in a way like I am not good enough, and you have to interrupt that thought, the interruption has to be so seemingly done in a way that you're not fighting with that thought. You know what I mean? So if you start fighting with that thought that I shouldn't be thinking negative, I shouldn't be doing this, why am I doing this, then you are again into the loop. Instead of thinking that I shouldn't be thinking these thoughts, I shouldn't be doing this, just replace that. Whenever that thought comes in, just replace that to I am good enough and I got this. I am smart enough and I got this. Just remind yourself that who you are is how you define yourself. Nobody else or no situation can define you in any way. So just reaffirm yourself those thoughts and interrupt the pattern or thoughts whenever it comes in a positive way, by replacing it instead of fighting the same old pattern. Because if you start fighting, you're again into the loop. You have to think in a new way, and so you are just reaffirming yourself in a new way and letting that thought know that this is not me. I am good enough and I know how to take care of myself. I am always taken care of. So when you interrupt the pattern, you have to also consider the fact how our bodies and brains are designed. No matter how much you try to do things, you know that you have been doing things in a similar way for so many years. How many ever old you are, years old you are, you have been doing things in a similar way for certain years. It's going to change that much effort to break from that thought that you've been thinking for 20, 30, 40 years. So you have to break through that. And that's going to take some effort, because you cannot expect that it's going to change. So try and understand that aspect, that I have invested so many years thinking that thought. Now that I want to change that thought, it's going to take that much effort to change that from so many years of thinking in a similar way and reacting in a similar way. So, and also, like bodies, as I said, they all love familiar, known than the unknown. So your body and brain are trying to let you know that why are you doing this change, like why are you not thinking the same way, because you've been doing that for 30 years and now you're just not going to do it. Like, how is that going to happen? So you have to understand how your brain and body works and how are you going to interrupt that. And the third step is repetition. You want to make sure that whatever you're trying to break off the loop, you have to repeat it every single day. Every time that thought comes in, every time you're feeling low, every time you know that this is not something that your new self will be doing, you have to make sure you're repeating it every time to yourself. So the repetition can be small every day. So if you have a pattern you're trying to break through, take a time to repeat, do a repetition of like breathing. So if you think a certain way or you're anxious, you have a panic attack, just do breathing, sit down with yourself, remove yourself from the situation, take a moment to yourself just to do a breathing. Just inhale, exhale. And when you do that, you're trying to interrupt not only the pattern, but you're also trying to repeat it every time something similar happens. You're trying to repeat things that you know is safer to do. Or take a 5 minutes walk in the nature. Do all those things and incorporate in a way where it is like a small change and not a sudden big change. Because you know, the fact about change is that if you try to do it in a bigger scale, it's going to be hard for your body and mind to accept. If you start doing it in a smaller way, like, okay, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to observe myself in 5 minutes. I'm going to do meditation for 5 minutes. That is observing yourself. So I'm going to just do this with 15 minutes. I'm going to do breathing for 15 minutes. I'm going to sit down with myself. So you're interrupting the pattern in that. Once you're interrupting it, you know that this is going to feel awkward in few instant when you're doing it, and then it becomes so familiar, so known, so safe that you're breaking out of the loop and you don't even think the similar way. You don't even have the same thoughts. And that's how change happens. That's how you are able to break free from the loop. And that is the steps you could do. And that's how you're gonna be able to change your patterns and your thoughts. And hopefully this video actually helps and gives you the message that you're looking for. I have shared all what I have done to break free from the loops that I was in, and these are the ways you could actually do. And again, I preach meditation a lot because it has changed my life, and I want to let you know that all these interruptions, all these thoughts of being awareness, repeating, everything comes in even when you do meditation. Even when you sit down with yourself, you realize that you are separate from the thoughts you're thinking, because you're not your thoughts. It's you'll see that it's a bigger picture going on in the background, and the thoughts that you're thinking is just like the front end of the software, and you are not your software front end. You are the back end, which is running the program, and you're running the show. So once you're able to separate, you know you're not going to be guilty about thinking certain way. You're not going to be thinking the same thoughts that are not good for you. You know when you are not in a good headspace and what to do about it, and how confident you are that you know yourself, and this is you're able to break free. So I hope this video helps and you're able to share this with somebody and help them with the message and help them break free from their life and have that breakthrough that you're looking for. Okay, have yourself a nice day and thank you for everything.